Everyone, welcome back to Biblio Fitness. I know it's been a couple weeks since my last upload. I'm back on this because, I was saying before I went on the hiatus that um, my test is coming up on November the 3rd for my certification, and I've just been really focusing on it. I just finished the whole round. I got 88 out of 90 questions on my last practice exam. So pretty ready to go. This past weekend, I finally finished The Dawn of Day. So I will be uploading the last interesting sections that he has, especially the last one, which is We Aeronauts of the Intellect, but that will come at another episode. But yeah, I've just been focusing on what needs to be done. The books, my books are not going anywhere. They are mine. I'm not, I didn't rent them from a library or anything like that. So, but it feels good. It feels good that all this hard work is starting to pay off. Like anything else, really. But it's always good to have that sort of validation. But the work is not done. The job is not finished until I have that certification under my belt, right? So I have been taking these few days off. I'm gonna get back into reading, but I'm still gonna be studying quite feverishly. I don't want to just let off the gas pedal. Oh, I'm ready now. Like hell no, But I did really want to finish this book and put out a few more videos before I get back on to the final stretch. That next week is when I'm gonna go at it again and just completely immerse myself once more in the subject matter for my A+. But so for today, though, I did want to discuss section 551, which is called Future Virtues. And I did want to discuss about it because there's been recent videos that I've been watching on a very enlightening perspective that has been brought before by people like Semyagog and Jolly Scholar 888. You can find them on YouTube. Very interesting fellows, boomers, but very erudite, well-versed individuals. And they're the ones that really brought to my attention about socialism is eugenics. And I'm not going to go too deep on that, but I would definitely look into that. And it just makes so much sense on any. Like when you look at it from that perspective, all this ridiculousness that is transpiring in our beloved country makes so much sense. People don't want to. Most people don't want it to make sense, or people laugh it off because it's dark. It's very sadistic. I mean, not sadistic, but it's very evil on what they're trying to do. I mean, I don't even want to say evil, but it just links everything together, and it stops from these being some isolated instances to being a full-blown state-backed eugenics program. And kind of makes sense with what today is going to be what subject of today's discussion. So before I go off anymore on this tangent, quote, "How has it come about that the more intelligible the world has become, the more all kinds of ceremonies have diminished? Was fear so frequently the fundamental basis of that awe which overcame us at the sight of anything hitherto unknown and mysterious, and which taught us to fall upon our knees before the unintelligible and to beg for mercy? And has the world, perhaps, through the very fact that we have grown less timid, lost some of the charm it formerly had for us? Is it not possible that our own dignity and stateliness, our formidable character, has decreased together with our spirit of dread? Perhaps we value the world and ourselves less highly since we have begun to think more boldly about it and ourselves. Perhaps there will come a moment in the future when this courageous spirit of thinking will have reached such a point that it will feel itself soaring in supreme pride, far above men and things, when the wise man, being also the boldest, will see himself, and even more particularly existence, the lowest of all beneath himself. This type of courage, which is not far removed from excessive generosity, has been lacking in humanity up to the present. Oh, that our poets might once again become what they once were, seers, telling us something about what might possibly happen. Now that what is real and what is past are being ever more and more taken from them and must continue to be taken from them, for the time of innocent counterfeiting is at an end. Let them try to enable us to anticipate future virtues, or virtues that will never be found on earth, although they may exist somewhere in the world. Purple glowing constellations and whole Milky Ways of the beautiful. Where are ye astronomers of the ideal? End quote. And so towards the very end, this guy, he really doesn't stop, but it really does make sense, how the more knowledgeable we have become of the world, the less respect that we have for it, because, every civilization is built upon religion, is built, one could say that we are homo religious. We need religion, we need the world of the unintelligible, of the things that we cannot comprehend, the incomprehensible, the boundaries beyond our state and our community. This is what has brought upon our constructions, or an attempt to construct order, or some sort of semblance of order in the world, and why things transpire the way they do, why we are who we are. And one could say that we have lost respect for ourselves, as he says here, because every religion has placed us at the very centerfold of the universe, right? The entire world and all the national catastrophes that transpire are like moral playground, or are an opportunity for us to interpret and become better individuals, or to become closer to God and His message and all these other things. And now that all of this has become all of this has been thrown by the wayside, what will happen now? We do value the world and ourselves less highly because of our supposed increased grasp and control of this world and society. The fact that we no longer need religion, the fact that we no longer need these metaphysical or these transcendental answers for ourselves anymore, has left us in this sort of limbo. And it makes a lot of sense. We become more bold and more brash into how the world should be and how the world has to be. You could just look at the rhetoric out there nowadays, but now with no God and no transcendental force, it has become flattened, become quite superficial, because at the end of the day, what is left but man? And what virtues are going to be created because of this, now that we have cast aside our religious selves, supposedly. And the reason I brought up socialism is eugenics, because it seems like that is the future virtue. And I've been watching those videos, and this is all tying in beautifully, because, once we got rid of, once the whole God is dead thing came about by Mark Stirner and Nietzsche, all that was left was man. And the only people that are left to direct man is man itself. But obviously men cannot direct themselves, and that's why we need government and states and things of that nature. And it's just, I'm really beginning to think that we are coming to that point in the future where our virtues are being distorted, discombobulated, and molded in a way that the future human is going to be completely irrecognizable from who we are now as individuals. And it's just, this is the future project. I feel like socialism is eugenics, is just a continuation of what the church just tried to accomplish, right? The ideal type, the ideal individual, the squeamish, fearful, pitiful individual that was the ideal of Christianity, has transcended or descended to our materialistic views or more materialistic outlook towards the world. It's changed, but the ideal remains the same, in my opinion. My apologies. So, because with no God, all that's left to mold us is the state. And I feel like that's why a lot of things are going on nowadays, being backed by the state. The ideal individual being pushed by the oligarchs or by the people in power. And these are the future virtues being instilled in us. Now that we have no God, now we have nothing to back us up, obviously in other conservative countries for sure. And that's why all this hysteria has not taken off in those places. But us being devoid of such things are much more easily coerced into these new views because we are desperately always trying to find purpose. And once that purpose has been expunged, we are quick to adopt another, because that's an essential component for us to continue to play this game that's called life. And these are very dangerous times, because, the wise man being also the boldest will see himself, and even more particularly existence, the lowest of all, beneath himself. And I feel like that's the sort of viewpoint that a lot of people in power also adopt, right? That they know better than us and they know how to direct things better than we do. They are far above us. They have the eye. They have the necessary view to be able to see beyond the horizon and see what's coming and see the actions unfold without the restrictions of time, right? Past, present, future, everything just intermingled together, everything transpiring once, all together at once. And these are the future virtues instilled. That's why really, this is a very pessimistic way of looking at it, but it's very realistic, right? Like, because this is the question that we all have to ask. What virtues are they instilling in the rhetoric that is being pushed every day now? People don't want to look at that, or people look at it from a delusional point of view. And the people who usually condone this sort of behavior from our sect of society are those who are desperately trying to answer their own questions in a very dishonest sort of way. How many of us are truly honest in trying to figure out what makes us go, what keeps us going, and what we really are made of? That's a very, very minuscule percentage of the population, especially now. And the way that I've seen all this is that, Nietzsche has really teach this or instilled this in me, is you always have to ask, what's the end point? The reevaluation of values. That's what's going on now, right? The reevaluation of all moral values, right? Now that morality has been taken out, what are these values going to instill in us, and what is the product of these values? That's the most important thing, and that's the important thing. What man or what individual is going to be created with these values in place? It's a very scary question to ask because the answer is quite obvious and it's very disgusting once you look at it. But, through peer pressure and social coercion and social media, we're kind of forced to adopt these things without really looking at it that far ahead. Not realizing the repercussions that we're going to be paying for adopting these new virtues, for adopting these new values, for accepting that these imbeciles coming out of university somehow know better than us because they've read one too many books, and completely neglect the outcome of their beautiful philosophy and beautiful religions. And and the whole even thing about the whole socialism is eugenics and this project of creating a new ideal man. And one could say that socialism, like I said, is a continuation of the project by Christianity, but flattened superficially. Very superficial because of the fact that we have no more God. Nothing looking up. Nothing that we can look up to, or nothing looking below, or looking down on us, watching us. It's except other men, other men's prerogatives, biases, and things of that accord. And it's very scary, like, what virtues are they instilling with us? An emasculated individual, a timid individual, one that wants to constantly look to the state for help and for donation and for subsistence, right? The state telling us what it is to be a man, or what it is to be a woman, or lack thereof, or what it is to be all these other things. And once you look at it from that perspective, you see that who are the only people that actually adopt these things? The peasant class. As it has always been. Virtues and laws and morals only abide or apply to those who don't have enough power to say otherwise. And that's what's going on today. And that's a very interesting observation made by those two gentlemen that I said in the beginning of the video, is that the future virtues is to the benefit of the elites. And it has become more blatantly obvious because there's no more hiding, there's no more veil, there's no more shroud available for them behind the mysticism of God and religion. Because you look at every socialist fucking project, communist project, and it all ends up in genocide. Why? Because of the ideal man. You have to get rid of those dregs of society, those who are not productive, those who don't fit into the mold, those who are weighing down the progress of the state, the progress of the people for a better life. And for that better life, a lot of ugly, ugly, deformed homosexual kids have to, be taken out of the equation, as it were. That's the future virtues that seems to be going on now. With the centralization of the globe, and with that comes the centralization of authority. And with the centralization of authority in government, all these oligarchs with the same views are going to be instilling the same shit and making us eat it up. Because what person in high power is transgender? Or what person in power is any of these other denominations in LGBTQ+? None of them. None. It's only us. It's only us that they preach to have cultural diversity, to not care of who we have children with, not care where we are or who a person comes from or whose person's values are, and all our values are invalid. And we have to take care more about each other and not to be more inclusive and things of that nature. The dilution of culture, the dilution of who we are as individuals continues to transpire. But those in power don't practice what they preach, because it's only for us, because we're the only retards to actually adopt these things as the truth. So this is a very interesting time. What virtues are being anticipated. You can kind of see it for what it is now. And that's why you have to be very trepidatious and very fearful of what is coming next. I don't like what I'm seeing. If I ever have children, I'm not putting them in public schools. They're trying to get rid of us. Literally trying to get rid of us. They now have the means to do so. They have the technology to do so. But people don't want to see that. They throw this same rhetoric, the same banners as it's always been. Equality, human progress, freedom, liberty. And it's the opposite, because now you're coerced to do these things. You're forced. Where is the liberty? Where is the freedom to express yourself? Because if you're not expressing yourself the way they want to, then you don't count, and therefore you need to be repressed. It's the same antithetical values that are being thrown all the time and are being used on us all the time. And I'm going to look more into that whole socialism and eugenics and the whole bio-Leninism and things. And I really have not been very familiar with that until very recently. But it is something that we have to ask, and it's something that Nietzsche has instilled in me, is that you always have to ask, what is the person that is coming out of this? Don't look at the banners, don't look at the supposed message, don't look at the supposed progress of it all. What sort of person is constructed with these values in place? And would you like this sort of person to be existing? Would you like this sort of person to be your neighbor? Would you like this sort of person to be at your back if shit hits the fan? I know I wouldn't. A person completely devoid of consciousness, completely dependent upon those oligarchs who think they know better than us, sitting in their ivory towers, because we peasants don't know any better. Because at the end of the day, what is truth but power? What is truth but the power that wins. That's the problem with things that are going on in the Middle East, for example. How can you resolve that issue when both sides have God on their side? Good luck with that, trying to answer that in a secular way, and it's just not going to happen. The only way that truth will ever come out on that side is whoever is the victor. Whoever is the victor will have God on their side. Until then, it's TBD. And that was a conversation I was having with some coworkers that I think rattled their brains a little bit. Something I realize is those who are religious are very simple-minded folk. To put it nicely, a lot of times it's not their fault, but it's just very idealistic, and I just look at it as some sort of childish outlook towards the world, thinking that we can answer things through just simple conversation, but it's not the case. But with these virtues, at first I was very excited, because at the end of the day, it is up to us. I do believe in individuality. Everyone has the right to do whatever the fuck they want to do, because that means I get to do whatever the fuck I want to do. So it behooved me to let others do the same, right? But with now that power has been centralized and has been taken to such a degree, we have to be very fearful on them winning before we do. Them instilling these values before we do. They're not paying attention to us for a reason. They're paying attention to the children. They're paying attention to the next generation for good reason. We're too old to be molded. Well, they're stupid enough to still be molded, but it's the children. They're sponges. The indoctrination is going to continue, and it's something that's been going on for millennia. People make it seem like education has always been unbiased until this very moment. It's like, no, dude, it's always been that way. Education is indoctrination, especially when it's run by the state, especially when it's run by the people in power. Do you really want to expect that the people who run this country or run the states or run the community want to teach you shit that's going to make you think, wait a second, why do I need you? No, imbeciles. But this is a question. What are the future virtues being instilled? And it's a very scary question. Very scary answer. It's very controversial, because there's a lot of people that are serious social justice warriors, even though they're retarded, and they really know what they're pushing for, and they don't know what they're sacrificing for this supposed egalitarian worldview, this future utopia where we're all castrated and mentally insane, and blabbering to the point where we need handouts for the government, and that's all we can ever aspire to. I'm gonna be thinking about this a little bit more, about the future virtues. It's something that you always have to ask, and it's something I'm asking all the time now. So that will be the video for today. Glad to be back and get back into the practice of this. I do hope you have a great day. I hope you all make some tremendous gains. Yesterday I did have legs. Amazing. DC trading is the shit. I already see the fucking I'm getting big, bro. Like this is crazy. I'm getting fucking massive. It's amazing. When I'm not being petrified about the future, it's nice to work out and make some gains. But yeah, that'll be it. I do, like I said, hope y'all have a great day. Hope y'all make some beautiful gains. Hope y'all get some raining done today. And until next time, love y'all and peace.